Alright, in this video we are going to tweak the volume raise to achieve the look that we want. If you didn't complete the previous video but you'd like to complete this one, you could open the file v25.nk in the new directory. Okay, now let's double click on the volume raise and let's start adjusting them. So the first thing I'd like to do here is to fix that repeating pattern issue that looked like a quality issue to me. So I will come here and look for something that's called quality right here. And I will click here and set to high. And now everything is smooth. Now there is two main things that I can adjust here in the volume raise. Here will be the shape of the raise and here will be the color. For the shape of the raise, I'm not too sure yet. I think this looks pretty great, but you could play around with the length of the raise to see how it will look like a little bit longer. And if you'd like them to be a bit more blurred, I like them sharp. As well, those two guys here will help you to define the alpha that generates your raise. So basically we are taking the alpha of all the rocks here and then we are taking the edges, and this will make your edge more or less thick, so that will influence the size of your raise, right? And that will affect the sharpness of the edge of your alpha, so you will get as well different results depending of what you are using. So I really want you to decide what you want to achieve out of that. I don't have like, you have to set the edge size to 1.8 or 2.6. No, just choose. Just play around with all those parameters to see what you like. As well, it's important not to be afraid to play with parameters of nodes in Nuke, because you will encounter new nodes all the time in Nuke. Like every new project, every new companies will have their own plugins, their own gizmos, their own nodes, and they will be different. And you will be like, okay, how am I going to use that? Well, simply by trying things. You'll see. Don't be afraid. Okay, so when you're done tweaking the look of your raise, let's have a look to the color. So first, we could change the gamma and gain of the volume raise. But this is not too much my concern, because those two things could be adjusted outside of the node by using, for example, a color correct node, right? But here I really like the initial volume color and the end volume color, because that will allow me to create a gradient between the emission and the end of the raise. So I will just come there and tint a little bit the initial volume color with a little bit of more of a warmer tone. And maybe I will actually do the opposite for the end volume color. Come here and put a slightly colder tone. So I don't know if it's exactly the look I want to achieve, but well. Of course, I will then place my color correction after, and just for the sake of it for now, just let's add a little bit of orange feeling to the gamma, and maybe to the gain as well. I don't know. Yeah, just a little bit like that. This is not perfect for now, but we are going to adjust things more, right? As I'm putting elements into place, I just realized that there are other stuff as well that needs to be adjusted, right? I'm still not very convinced about my defocus, and as well the edge of the earth right now could be maybe a bit brighter, because we need to justify the fact that we have all those rays coming from the sun, right? So maybe the edge of the planet, sorry, not the earth, need to be brighter as well. So now, the problem that I have with those rays is that they are emitting everywhere. Well, it depends of your art direction, and you can do whatever you want, but I'd like to see a little bit more of that part of the screen being just in the shadow with not that many rays, like a little bit like if the planet was occulting some of the rays that couldn't pass by, right? And here, in the volume raise here, we have a mask input that we could use for that. So I will take that guy and I will come and connect it to the Earth here. Okay, now my problem is that I have links crossing my scripts all over the places. It starts to be a little bit of a mess here. So we'll come to my merge 8 and I will do the same thing as we did with the Z merge, and I will come here and hide the input. And here I'd like to hide the input as well that comes from the planet. But I don't want to hide all the input from the volume rays, because if I do that, I feel it becomes confusing because we don't know what comes, where the things are coming from, you know? Especially with that type of node that has labeled inputs. So we know that here's the image that generates the rays and here is the mask. So if I hide the inputs from this node, things are not very clear anymore. So what I'm usually doing in that case, well, I will just simply create a dot here on the link coming from the planet, and I could double click on the dot and hide the input of the dot. And I think this is way more clean. I could do even better. I could come here and label my dot and call it, for example, planet. We'll increase a little bit the size of the text. And now this is like way more clean. I could even create a dot like that. And yeah, perfect. Okay, so now I plugged my planets as a mask in the volume rays, but basically nothing happened, nothing changed. Well, it's because we need to go back to the main user tab here, and at the end of the properties of the volume rays, we need to enable the mask. And as soon as we do that, you can see that we're actually affecting the effects, and now we have rays only inside our mask. Well, the thing is that we want the opposite here, right? So I will hit the tab button and looking for the invert node, and I will plug the invert after my planet here, and there we go. Now we do have what we want, like the rays being emitting where the planet is not, right? I could come to the volume rays properties and increase the mask blur just to have the rays bleeding a little bit more over the planet. And yeah, you can go quite high, I think. Well, one more time, you decide about that. Don't forget that you can always go higher than the maximum of the slider in Nuke. So if the maximum mask blur of 100 is not enough for you, you can keep going and go a little bit higher. Okay, that's great. Now I'd like to adjust a little bit the visibility of my rays, and I'd like to do that according to the asteroids. And we are going to do that in the next clip. See you there.